Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be reviewing Assignment 3, the UC Discourse Analysis Research Project. The first thing I'd like for you to do is pay attention to the rough draft due date and the final draft due date. Then I'd like you to take note of the page length requirements for this assignment. The paper should be 5 to 7 pages long, and this isn't counting the works cited page, which you should also attach. This paper and the works cited page should all be MLA formatted. Also, for this assignment, if you happen to have any transcripts or Q&A interviews conducted, I would like for you to share those with me, as well as any audio files that you might have. And I'll be sure to link a Dropbox link to the submissions area so that you can share those with me as well once this assignment has been completed. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this assignment. So our other assignments have slowly been building up to this one. First, we talked about your personal literacy experiences. Then we studied genre, and you talked about a genre. And now we're going to be thinking about and exploring the composing and meaning-making practices of others. This paper is going to be grounded in research and should be used to explore composing practices of some kind in a certain context. Now, I know that's a little vague. We're going to go into this a bit further so you can understand it a bit more. Now, the title of this paper is UC Discourse Analysis. So what do you think that might mean? I'm chuckling a little bit there, but really, the focus of this is going to be on the University of Cincinnati. Why? Because you're attending the University of Cincinnati. And I want you to be able to connect with the literacy practices there. So, for some of you, I realize this might be a bit of a challenge because you're off campus, and I know that several of you are quite a bit away from UC's campus. However, there are still plenty of ways in which you can connect this paper with the University of Cincinnati without having to actually step foot on campus. So when I talk about you being able to explore composing practices over at the University of Cincinnati, here are some of the examples that I have in mind. So think about ways of exploring the meaning of literacy at the University of Cincinnati and the culture of the discourse community as a part of or that is relevant to your interests. How does UC create knowledge, communicate, use text, and teach members skills, literacies, etc., valued by that community? An example could be, as far as the discourse community that you're a part of or that you're interested in, it could be a sorority or a fraternity. There could be another type of group on campus that works together. Any kind of student group whatsoever that you're interested in could count as those. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the examples below. Also, consider examining how the texts and genres used by this discourse community shapes the actions of their users. So an example would be studying how UC television commercials shape the student population. And some of these commercials are on the UC website, so you can access them there as well as on YouTube. You can also study how safety or training manuals offered by the university shapes literacy and discourses of faculty members. How do these genres reveal beliefs and attitudes about what counts as knowledge within the UC discourse communities? Another option or thing to take in mind or keep in mind, is Observing the writing done within the context of a club or an organization, as I mentioned above. One warning I'd like to make, that I make sure that I lay out here, is that this paper requires a pretty full disclosure of text. So if you're considering your sorority or your fraternity, it's been attempted and not successfully, since you're very limited in what you can share. So people have attempted it in the past. One of the problems that students run into is that they're not able to share full information because their sorority or fraternity has rules against it. If there's a way that you can get around that, or if it's a situation in which you can share information and it doesn't matter, or if you can get permission to share it with me and know that I'm not taking it anywhere, then that can be fine. Otherwise, you might want to consider looking at other clubs and organizations, other student groups. I think it can be done with a sorority or fraternity. Again, some of these groups, at least the ones that other students have tried to write about in the past, have had some significant challenges because of the rules within their sororities and fraternities requiring that they not share too much information about their communication. Next, you can observe the writing practices of particular members of a club or organizations or communities, such as the secretary of a fraternal organization, the writing of a faculty member in your discipline, or of somebody in the field you're interested in. So this is kind of a way that, especially if you're not on campus and you're not interested in any of these other options, you can look more outside of UC and more into the field that you're interested in. You can also look into Facebook pages, blogs, Twitter feeds, etc., or other discourse community genres or writing cultures as part of this assignment. You're also welcome to analyze the revision processes of a group of UC students, maybe even your classmates. An example would be the UC plagiarism policy and the students' understanding of it. That's actually a really good one. So regardless of the topic that you choose, your project should clearly demonstrate what it makes, what it is that makes literacies, discourses, and other genres of your selected community interesting, unique, complex, etc. I want you to make sure that you use primary research methods and close observation to document and analyze the literacy practices particular to your chosen community individuals. Interviews, observation, and rhetorical analysis are part of this. We've done a lot of reading this semester, so try to think a little bit about those readings and discussions and use those to generate some ideas or concepts to study. You can use secondary research methods, but I want you to focus on primary research methods. Now, when I say primary research methods, I'm talking about interviews that you conduct, surveys that you conduct, and those can be in person, those can be over the phone, those can be online. The interviews can be the same. So those are the kinds of ways that I want you to think about conducting your research. And again, you can use some secondary research methods. So secondary research would be research that other people have conducted that you're looking up. So that would be relying on research or statistics from other interviews and you could find those, within the library or online. If you want to have a couple of those, that's okay. But I really do want you to focus on getting your own interviews and conducting your own surveys and research. So for the assignment, the first thing I want you to do is choose a UC discourse community that has impacted you or interests you. Now, for some of you, that could be a specific club, that could be a department that you're getting your degree in, or you're currently in, or maybe that you want to be in, or you have been in and transitioned out of, an organization that you participated in, or any kind of student group that you belong to or come in contact with that you would be maybe even interested in joining. Then find a preliminary answer to this research question. What are the goals and characteristics of this discourse community? So once you find a specific discourse community that interests you, find a preliminary answer to this research question. And included in the above, remember, you can also, an option is to consider somebody that is within your field of study or in the field of study that you're interested in going into, who you could also connect with. Now, once you answer this preliminary research question, your job is to split your work into 3 steps. Your first step is to collect data. So you know which discourse community you're interested in at this point. You've given a preliminary answer to the research question above. Now you're going to collect data. So I want you to observe members in the discourse community that you're interested in while they're engaged in a shared activity. Take detailed notes about what they're doing, what they're saying. Note if they're using specialized language or coded words. How do they write? How do they talk? How do you know who is in and who is out of the group, or who is in and out of the conversation that you're observing? Collect anything people in that community read or write within their genres. Even very short things like forms, football plays, notes. It can be text messages, IMs, etc. And then I want you to interview at least one member of the discourse community. I want you to record and transcribe the interview. You might ask things like, how long have you been here? Why are you involved? What do X, Y, and Z words mean to you? How do you communicate with other people on your team or within your group, etc. And these are just suggested questions. A lot of times you can start with these and then kind of branch out from there. Step 2, I want you to analyze the data. So you've collected the data. Now I want you to analyze it. Use the researchers reread, such as Swales, Mirabelli, Wardle, Johns, Bartholomew, etc., to help you organize and analyze the data you've collected. Are there any conflicts within the community? So think about that. And remember, when you're analyzing data, there's a difference between summarizing and analyzing. So summarizing data means that you're just finding a way to quickly recap a big grouping of data so that it's easily understood. What I want you to do, and you're probably going to do that at a point, but I want you to analyze the data. That means you're going to have to think about it and ask questions about it and try to answer those questions. So this is the list of potential questions I came up with for you to try to answer. And you can add to this, take away from it, whatever you need to do for your specific set of data that you have, or datum that you have. So first off, as I was saying, are there any conflicts within the community that you've noted so far? If so, what are they? Why do you think they're conflicts? Another one, do some participants in the community have difficulty? So do they have difficulty communicating? Do they have difficulty connecting with the community? Who has authority within the community, and where does the authority come from? This is a big question, and this will tell you a lot about the community that you're analyzing and looking at. What kinds of modes of belonging are newcomers using, and how are they using those modes? So try to remember modes of belonging right there. What type of multiliteracies do members of the community possess? Are members of this community stereotyped in any way regarding their literacy knowledge? What kinds of identity displays are presented within the community by community members, and how are those displays able to earn power or prestige within the community? I know those are some deep questions, but again, that's to get you started and intended to help you ask deep questions, and or hopefully to help you unravel and unveil some deep thoughts. So for step 3, let's recapture at this point. You've found a community that you're interested in that's connected to UC or the field that you're interested in. You've answered that preliminary research question. You've collected data. You've analyzed that data. Now for step 3, I want you to present your findings. Given all the data you've collected and analyzed, decide what you want to focus on in your paper. Is there something interesting about the goals of the community that you've just analyzed? Are there types of literacies in the community that you find interesting? Its lexis or genres. Refine the above research question to fit your purposes, and then construct an essay that demonstrates what you've learned about your discourse communities. Make sure you also describe your methodology and your findings, and then also present an answer to your specific research question. Last but not least, make sure that you include a works cited page with all of this. So you'll need to have gathered all of your data on your discourse community, collected the genre materials, and interviewed at least one member of the community as part of your works cited page. Keep that in mind. And that's it for this assignment. I know you're probably rolling your eyes at me right now and saying, that's it. Well, this is the third and final assignment for our 2089 class, and this is a high-level English class, so it is a bit tough, but it certainly isn't beyond you. And really, it's tough in terms of it requires a bit of effort on your part and a bit of time. So again, look at those rough draft and final draft due dates, mark them on your calendar, and make sure that you try to have as much as you can together for the rough draft so that you can get helpful feedback from your peers. And with that, that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and happy writing.